So, hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Whole New Life podcast. I'm your host, Janice Muldoon, and I have two lovely ladies here with me today. My pals, Mills and Em. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you for being on with me this morning. So, basically, just to give the listeners a little bit of background. So, I met Mills about a year and a half ago or so. Over in London at a big personal development event. We had a little bit of a chat and then we kind of stayed connected on social media and stuff. And then a little while later, these ladies were putting together their first online program for their Happy Me courses. And that's part of what I do in my business coaching is I help people that want to take their businesses online. So then they got in touch and we ended up working together. And now we're like pals from afar.
Yeah.
I'm over in Belfast and these guys are over in England and they're just lovely. So I'm just so thrilled that you'd be on here with me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So part of what obviously before we got on here, we were having kind of a little chat. Like obviously I would be very much in line with you guys as far as, and really what this podcast is all about is helping women to find their happiest, most fulfilled lives, you know what I mean? And really be inspired and excited to go out and go after the kind of lives that they want. So you guys are, that's what you guys are all about. So tell the ladies a little bit about you two.
Well, I'm Mills. I'll start probably. For some reason, we always do it that way.
In order. Mills and
in order. So do you know what? I was one of those people at school who just didn't do well. And I was labeled as just being, stupid, not trying hard enough, all of those things that kind of can have a bit of a detrimental effect. And so when I kind of went into the big real world, I was really like, I don't know what I can actually do. Can I even do anything? And I kind of fell into a job that I didn't really like. Actually, no, that's a lie. I did enjoy it. I did like it. It was sales. It was advertising sales for quite a corporate financial newspaper, which is ridiculous because I failed my maths GCSE like 4 times. I think I'm one of life's wingers. I was like, I can wing it. I can talk pensions and financial advising, but I was selling ad space. But I kind of thought, you know what? I just not sure this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I kind of took the brave decision to go off and I went and became a scuba dive instructor, which I absolutely loved. It gave me a real sense of freedom and it gave me a real sense of choice. I think partly because I didn't really have anyone to answer to. Of course, I did have a boss that I was, but I was doing something that I absolutely loved. And I was free to kind of, if I decided I didn't want to live in Thailand anymore, I just didn't live in Thailand anymore. I just went and upped and moved and it wasn't a big drama and there wasn't a big decision to make. And that sense of freedom has sort of stuck with me. And I just thought, you know what? I want to be able to offer everybody that opportunity to know that they don't have to be put in this kind of cardboard box of life. And so I kind of made it my mission to not live that life and lead by example, I suppose, would be the best thing. And I've just been really lucky enough to kind of meet people along the way who share the same vision as me, who have the same humor as me. We can have a laugh. Intro ends.
Yes.
So my background, I was always dancing. So I was a trained dancer and all the way through school, I was dancing. My life was pretty much about being sociable and in the evenings dancing. And pretty much my teachers at school got that I wasn't really interested. And they just sort of let me get away with it. And it was kind of a long-standing running joke that my brains were in my feet. That's what, which was funny at the time, but I don't know how the knock-on effect of that has actually gone with me. So going into then full-time dancing school and dancing every day and making a living from it, it wasn't a great industry to be in. It was quite bitchy. It was very cutthroat. You're not treated particularly well. There was lots of people with kind of weight issues and weight disorders, and the dancing school that I was at didn't kind of help you with your healthy being and your personal development and how you should sort of have the confidence going forward and conquer your fears, really. So I kind of ditched that and went off, like Mills, went off and did some traveling and just had the life of freedom. And getting back after that, it's quite difficult to then fit back into the mold, like Mills says. So after a few sort of different various jobs in the health and wellness industry, I then went back to my dancing and actually started teaching. So I was teaching Zumba classes, teaching ballet to children, and teaching bar classes, which I still do now, which that became apparent that after I'd had my first 2 children and suffered with postnatal depression from that, it became very apparent to me that I needed to keep on with my wellness journey, and I needed to exercise, and I needed to feel good about myself. And a lot of that was about exercising and keeping all the endorphins moving. So that's when my whole personal development journey started, because I really wanted to help other people that had been like me and stuck in a place of postnatal depression, not knowing what to do, nobody to talk to, nobody that can really help. And I had to do all the research myself, which was back then going down to the library or kind of speaking to your GP or trying to find somebody else that had suffered in the same way as me, which wasn't very many people. So that was the start of the personal development journey for me.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because there's so many people, I think, that are living with things going on. And I mean, when you're trying to get this information, it's like there's so many people that don't talk about it.
Yes.
Things like that, and going through. I mean, I know for myself, I got to be totally honest. I went through a really, really horrible, and it was a long time because I didn't admit it. I've always been one of those people where I'm like, yeah, that's okay. I can deal with it. Leave me alone. I'll just deal with it. Right. But yeah. I know for me, like I went through a really, really horrible time after I lost my mom. And it's like grief is one of those things that you just, know that there's phases. I got the books, right? You're just like, okay, because it was like horrific for me when this happened. And it took like years because I didn't deal with it. I went through the crying and anger and screaming and stuff, but I never really I never took the time to actually speak to somebody, which I think I probably should have, about dealing with all the other, the guilt and all these crazy, what if I had done this, and what, you know what I mean? All that questioning that goes on in your mind when you're dealing with something like that.
Yeah. I think definitely as well, that if we always say to people, if you've still got something in the pit of your stomach, like there's no time frame on these things, like anything that you went through or with postnatal depression or anything like that. No, there shouldn't be a time frame of like, well, it's 6 months have passed, you should really get your act together now. Or, oh, it's a year now, I should really be kind of bouncing back. And when you're strong people like we are, you kind of expect more from yourself. But if there's still that sadness in your belly and you keep ignoring it, you know that something needs to be addressed. And I think that personally, the first part is actually being honest with yourself. And that's like the hardest thing to do, because you keep wanting to, oh, I'll be okay. And you keep wanting to be more positive and be stronger and I'll get through this, which obviously we want to do and it's great. But there's still something in there that maybe needs to be talked about and maybe needs to be addressed and researched and kind of, looked into a little bit more. And we're not being honest enough with ourselves.
Yeah. It's being in denial. I mean, I know for me, once I finally came full circle, because it sounds crazy, right? Because it's like when you're in this world of, I'm coaching people. So this was the other part of it, right? I'm going out and putting this mask on of like, come on, let's get out there and get it. And I'm going to help you build your business and you got to have a positive attitude and stuff. And it was actually, to be honest with you, I think it made my situation worse, because I felt like a total fraud, because inside I was like.
It's interesting you say that, because I've noticed with coaching that a lot of the people that I coach personally on a one-to-one level show up with something that I need to deal with myself.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's cool. It's like I can be the teacher and the coach. And I learn from maybe it's just them opening my eyes to something that I've stored away. And it's been a really interesting little journey on that. And what you said about grief is really interesting, because I lost my dad a few years ago in 2015, and I'd luckily kind of got to that stage of personal development. I kind of knew where to go to, but up until then I had never had to deal with a death. And like what you say, that kind of roller coaster where suddenly you're in the middle of a supermarket and you're just crying for no apparent reason, whereas on another occasion you might be laughing hysterically at something. Is kind of, it's a bit all over the place. But I think because I dealt with stuff in the past and gone into personal development, I kind of knew, right, these are the triggers, this is what's going on, you need to now do this. But I think that's only my fortune, like from my fortune of doing that. There's so many people who don't know where to turn, or just don't even know that there's, you know, even if it's just a book that they could read, they don't necessarily know that that's there, or what to look for. Or I always hate the fact that personal development books are in the self-help section of the bookshop, because I'm like, actually, that's making it kind of like you've got a thing,
like you've got a problem.
I'm needing to be fixed, sort of thing. And I think it's interesting as well, along the lines of what you were saying about coaching and feeling like a fraud. You know, if we were sort of in the hospitality industry and you're a receptionist or a waitress or anything like that, you would still go to work, you would still put on the brave face, you would still try and show up the best way you can and put the smile on. But it's all about, you know, whatever industry we're in, we would do that. But it's all about when behind the scenes, the work we are doing. And saying, okay, so I just felt, you know, awful at work today. I had to really put myself out there. I felt like I was faking it the entire time. What can I do now? I'm at home to sort of build on that, to help me. What relaxation can I do? Who can I speak to? And it's what we do outside of that.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, it wasn't, I mean, I can totally agree, because it wasn't until, as stupid as it sounds, I was dealing with everybody else's stuff and just pushing mine down. But it's like, once I got back to regular exercise and meditation and all those things that I know that work, but it's like, okay, you got to do it on your own thing, right?
Yeah, and that was the whole motivation for us and the Happy Me courses, because we just feel that for us both individually going through personal situations where we needed to really up our game in our personal development, and actually we didn't want to sit in that sadness anymore, and we didn't want to sit in that place where our pain became exactly who we were and took over us as people. We wanted to still have that kind of kick-ass bit about us. We still wanted to be able to show up for other people and ourselves, and we just found that it's just so hard to, back in the day when we went through our personal situations, there wasn't obviously the internet to find out things like that from. So it was kind of
showing your age there.
You're not too far off it, love. And so we kind of knew that why should it take years for people to get to this place of actually, you know, personal development? And we're not saying that we are always developing the whole time. We're always going on that journey. We can always be better. We can always have something else thrown at us that we need to find new skills for. But it shouldn't take us years of our lives where we feel like we're apologizing for ourselves and in denial and pretending to other people that we are fine. We wanted to sort of bear all and be like, no, we have been through this and we need to get there damn quicker. We need the resources for this. And so pulling together all the things that we have learned over time and researched, and seminars and meditations and funky smelling teas and all this stuff that we've gone through, we've picked out the things that actually work against the stuff that actually you could probably research that and find that in your own journey. But this is stuff that you need to assess now.
Almost like the core principles of getting your shit together.
Absolutely. It's
like maybe a rabbit hole.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I think we are, going back to what you're saying, I think we're so fortunate the time that we live in right now that we have stuff like this that we can access when we want it and when we need it, and we need to learn new skills. Or even something I was going to talk to you guys about was also, you know, the possibilities of changing your life and having opportunities in front of you that I think we've never had before.
I totally agree. I mean, from a business point of view, there are so many opportunities for people to start an online course, to you know, we're in a wellness business as well. You know, there are things that the average Joe can just do. Where that opportunity wasn't around before. And all of the big entrepreneurs always talk about that kind of, now is the best time, is the best time for people to just jump on and have the ability, if they want to and if they're committed to change the path of what their life is heading in.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you see, there's so many people, I've come across so many people over the years coaching personally and through business and stuff. And people that feel that they can't, this is the life they've chosen and they can't make a change. And it's like, it's never too late. And especially now, there's just so many possibilities out there. Like, I'm not saying that being an entrepreneur is for everybody. There's a lot of people that they're very happy to get into a career and, that life is great. But if it's something that you've thought about, I believe being an entrepreneur, I remember my first business was a hair salon, like 20 years ago. And I remember it was really quite funny because I didn't come from an entrepreneurial family. So I was actually not really there. Like I was working at a really like awesome high-end salon and doing really good and everything was fab, except my boss was a bit difficult. Let's put it like that. So I finally decided, I'm like, right, that's it. I'm going to go apply at some other places because I've had it. And Brian and I had only been together like a really short time. And he was like, are you crazy? Look at how busy you are. You got so many clients. What are you doing? Like, go out on your own. And I did. And I just once I did, I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I did this.
Yeah.
It's so much hard work up front, but once you get going, you're like, oh, the freedom and the choice, like what you were saying, Mills, is like unbelievable.
And also just once you start doing that as well, you then you start realizing your potential and how you can, and whether it's very small things. Like I think if somebody just found the interest and the passion to design their own gift cards for people and make their own gift cards, or something very simple that people wouldn't think it's entrepreneurial to do that, but that's what their passion is, that's what makes them happy. Just by starting something quite small, that confidence starts building and their ability starts building, and they start then calling on the help of like, okay, what marketing can I do? And I need to speak to somebody about how I can put my work out there. But it can just be small little wins that starts building you to like, oh my God, I can.
Absolutely.
And I think what's changed actually in the last, particularly I would say for women, in the last 5 years, I've noticed a big shift between the kind of the groups that you can become a part of, the networking groups, the webinar, like maybe online webinars, but also seminars that you can go to. And it's this whole women empowering women is like becoming a huge thing. We're contributing massively to the economy. Like kitchen table businesses are what I call kitchen table businesses. Yeah. Are contributing hugely to our economy. And there's this like regaining this power. And what you said about not coming from an entrepreneurial background, I think now it doesn't matter so much if that's the case because of these groups. I was really lucky. My dad was a complete entrepreneur. His dad was. And so I had this, he was a real go do it. But my mom is the total opposite. Yeah. She's always like, cautious and a little bit neggy about it, and she'd be like, oh, I don't think you should do that, and what will happen if XYZ, whereas my dad was always like, no, do it. And so to have that influence was brilliant. But if you don't have that, you've got so much that you can lean on now to get that kind of belief that you can you can have help, and that people are in the same situation as you, and we're all kind of facing similar different things, similar things at different times. Stories that someone says, oh, I did that last month, I know exactly how you feel, try this. And especially around us, there's so many good groups. It's
yeah, definitely. And I think part of our drive as well is to actually get people talking about it more, so to not hide behind it. I mean, with Google, it's absolutely great. You can research things, you can go and buy a book, you can read things online, you can watch interviews. But I think until you're actually sort of really being honest and upfront, and somebody that's got weight issues, somebody that's unhappy in their marriage, somebody that is finding motherhood difficult, whatever it is, just about kind of opening that up and being a bit more honest about it, because we're so hidden with it. And I think that's just giving people the power to do that. They start really climbing forward.
Absolutely. I think, and 100%. I think that being on the computer and researching things can really be helpful to open up your mind to, what's going on. But I think what you guys are talking about is being part of groups or getting connected and getting support that you need, I think is really what the most important thing is, to know that you're not alone and there's somebody that can help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We very often catastrophize when we're on our own. It's like when people wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, and the problems seem so much bigger at that time, don't they, of the morning? And we do when we're on our own with our problems, we catastrophize and it becomes bigger. And it's amazing how when we've done some of our live workshops, groups of women together, what normally would have you in tears, us included, or would normally have us pulling our hair out, when we're in a group of women together, we're all laughing.
Yeah.
We're all sharing, we're all laughing, because we're like, in the grand scheme of things, who cares? Okay, I failed and I fell on my face and I looked at it, doesn't really matter. And we're all supporting each other. And that is the power of like groups of women together.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. At 2 o'clock in the morning, you're like, I'm the only one that has ever screwed this up. Oh, I'm such a failure.
Yeah. Do you know though, I don't do it so much anymore, but I used to often wake up. A really good tip is to just have a notebook next to your bed and just jot down a couple of things, because it just allows your brain to kind of brain dump onto a piece of paper. And then it's almost like you can say, okay, that's cool, I'm going to deal with that. Let's go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Rather than that kind of cycle.
Yeah. You could be like, I'm not a failure.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night.
Or just have like a little affirmation book next to your book, open it up. You're like, I am a badass. I knew I was. Right, I can go back to sleep.
I am fabulous. So listen, ladies, tell me, you guys both have a lot of different things going on, different businesses. You're both married. You have children. You got busy lives. What would you say is a real helpful tip for balancing out your work and your life and your family? Do you guys, have you come up with?
For me, it's get a PA. Literally, that was the most enlightening thing of my whole business. Because I think, not just a PA, but because I've got different businesses, I'm an accountant, I'm a marketing, I'm the secretary, I'm the person who answers the emails, I've got all these different roles. I'm HR, all these roles that normally a business, a kind of a business that employs people would have people doing those roles. And so I think when you start, you're like, well, I'm doing all of it, and how the hell am I going to do the accounts? I've never, So I offset really early on the stuff that I knew there's just no point me spending hours doing it. Like we just had that conversation about using Fiverr, using things like Fiverr, it's better to pay somebody, even £100 than your 3 days worth of work, which is, your value is way higher than that. So when I got myself, and I don't really like calling her a PA because that sounds a little bit fancy. It's like she just does a lot of my invoicing. She answers all my emails she stars anything she can't do. She sends over lots of information to Portugal for one of my businesses. And she literally has allowed me to then go into growing other parts of my business, or starting a new business, or doing a coaching course, or whatever it is, allowing me to do the things that are either going to bring me in more income or I enjoy doing more. So that was for me. So offsetting, even if it's you get an accounting system on, like Xero, or I don't know, I use Xero. I can't remember what the other one was. I used to use it. But anyway, I use that, and that helped me. So,
freeing up more of your time
by letting someone else who's better at it than you take the reins on that.
Yeah, I do echo that. I mean, I just think as long as you're focusing on the things that your skills and what you're good at. So obviously Mills and I with Happy Me, we want to be face-to-face with people, or we want to be on one-to-one calls with people, or we want to be group. It's all about kind of being front on and talking about our experiences and hearing theirs. If we busied our time, like when we came to you asking for you and Brian to help us set up our online coaching course, had we taken the time and thought, do you know what, we're going to do this ourselves, we wouldn't have been present for about 8 months online. Because it would have absorbed, would have had to have learned everything on YouTube. And even though that's great, it's just like that, we would have lost everything that we were trying to do and all our connections with people, because we are not behind the scenes people.
Yeah.
And I think just knowing when, instead of kind of thinking I can do it all, I can do everything, you just kind of know this isn't where my skills are. This isn't where I'm best serving other people. Where am I best serving my business and other people? And that was for us to still remain front on with people. And my second tip would be, let shit go. really.
Yeah.
Because if you and Mills, the amount of times we're at each other's houses and we're apologising for the state of our houses, I think that's
yeah. Yeah.
you know,
I don't mind that there's dog hair on my carpet. She doesn't either. You know,
No.
it's like we're all good. We're all good.
Do you know what? Actually, it's funny that you say that, because that's what I was going to say. So I always Brian had been saying to me for like years, right? Why don't you just get somebody in to clean the house? I was like, no, because I have to be in control of this situation. And I don't have children. So heaven forbid, how could I possibly need someone to clean my house if I don't have children? I do have a very hairy dog, though.
But that's ridiculous to say that.
I know, but I have one now, and it's
Good.
fabulous. I never want to use the vacuum again, ever.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Absolutely. I was even on, I don't know why I'm telling you, but I was sitting on the loo in my like I have this kind of back room that's got like washing and and I was just like, I need to find I've got a cleaner. I need to find someone who's going to iron because again, I'm just over it. I just don't need to do it. So yeah, having that paid help, whatever it is essential. My other tip, and I'm not very good at it, so it's one of those things that I always say and I wish I could do better, is to cut off myself from my business for family time. Whether that be your partner, whether that be your kids, but trying to switch off so that you're not being interrupted by the ding, ding, ding. And I've got better at kind of not immediately answering people. And it's just having that. We talked about it, didn't we? Like the kids on screens, like sometimes it's really easy to just be like, yeah, cool, have another 5 hours.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, like, I can carry on working. But other times I kind of think, right, no, I'm going to try and be more present in that situation so that you do have that balance.
Because it very quickly gets out of balance, actually.
It can really quickly
very quickly, and you just sink into that new pattern. And I think it's, I mean, some people are quite structured and they'll actually have a routine where they kind of do things at certain days of the week, or exercise, or certain times of the day, and telly goes off at that time, or they meditate at that time. Mills and I aren't really those people. We are a bit... We're just all over the place, aren't we, really? But we have got better at listening to ourselves. So when you know, God, why am I feeling short of breath? Why am I feeling all agitated? Okay, no, I haven't taken any self-care. I need to, like, and in fact, you were saying this morning you went for a run and you had no energy, Mills.
Yeah, no energy. I hardly ate yesterday, so I was.
And she didn't eat yesterday properly, so it's like, okay,
that's a big telltale sign. Well, here I gotta on the heels of that, I have to tell you something. If I'm going to give away a really super important nugget, a life hack for people,
great.
Don't reheat shellfish ever.
Oh, yeah, no.
Oh my God. No. Did you have an experience?
I nearly honestly canceled this morning. I was upright for 4 hours, a total of 4 hours yesterday.
Oh no, poor you.
Oh my God, so sick. So when you were saying about not eating yesterday, so what happened was Brian's a fabulous cook, and he made this gorgeous pasta on Friday night with seafood.
Okay.
And there was some left over. And for a second, it just flittered through my brain for a second, maybe you shouldn't eat mussels the next day.
Oh, yeah, no.
And I did.
That's like rule 101 of fish.
I know, it's so stupid. I don't even, so yesterday morning at 4:00, I was out of bed, and that was it. All day long, sick as a dog. So I was going to say to you, sorry, just to segue out of, there's the hint of the day, never reheat shellfish. But I was so ticked off this morning because there's no way I could have run because I couldn't eat all day.
No, exactly. Yeah,
so I'm like, okay, now now that lesson is learned. But that's one thing for Brian and I, when you're talking about your balance and finding time for yourself during the day. That's one thing that I have found for us anyway. Doing it in the morning is definitely for me now, and I know you guys both have kids, so it's a completely different situation. You got a lot going on in the mornings. I find for me that if I can just stick to that routine, if I can do my my exercise for sure in the morning, maybe not the meditation and stuff, but
do you find, so this would be a question for you and Brian, because you do a lot of work together, and I used to work with my husband, and we found that we were always talking about
Yes. Work.
Yeah.
It's
Work.
horrible. Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like the cutoff has to be, well, let's talk about something else.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually had to, it sounds like totally crazy, but until you're in that situation, you don't even realize you're doing it. So we're out walking the dog and you're supposed to be enjoying the day and relaxing. And we're talking about stuff. And I'm like, oh, we have to stop. So yes, there's certain rules that we made where things, work is off limits during certain times. And even Brian would be a lot worse than me, for checking emails. Like he's like, like his inbox is empty all the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I know. And he has an anxiety attack because it's like, oh, you have 187 unread emails. He's like, right. But one thing that I've done it, and he's really close to being able to do it, is I'm not looking at my phone in the morning until I've had my run and I've had my breakfast and I've had my shower.
Brilliant.
I admire that so much.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's so hard. I read a really good book called How to Break Up with Your Phone.
Mm.
And I forget what the author's called, and it's quite a small book. It's not not big, but it goes through this process. You kind of have it's a detox of your phone. It's a phone detox, but and the process. The first half of the book talks about what the phone companies do to keep you addicted, and it's terrifying. It is terrifying.
Oh my God.
And then you have to put speed bumps in the way, so you have to put like all your main apps that you usually use on like the back page, so that you're having to it takes you longer to get them. Then you have to go without at night, and then in the morning, and then eventually you are phone free for like the weekend, the whole Friday through to Sunday, and then you are allowed to go back out with your phone. But it's to make you more mindful, and it really worked. But unfortunately, kind of fast forward a year, and I'm back just as bad as I was.
It's tough because you fall into the habits, don't you? Again,
I don't work with my husband, but still in the evenings I have to verbalize. That's how I work. I have to verbalize everything. I do, don't I?
Yeah.
And it's almost like I'm just confirming it to myself that he's there, so he's got to listen. And but I am quite kind of demanding of his attention. I'm like, are you listening? Because he's staring at the telly. So I'm like, look at me. Are you listening to me? Because I just need to sort of double check things through and verbalize it. So, but then we're spending our evenings talking about what I need to do. So I have got into the habits of like 7:00. He'll put our youngest to bed, and I'll sit and write my to-do list for the next day at 7:00.
Right.
So then I've got my evening, and I don't have to verbalize with him. Mm-hmm. He can actually just not hear me for a while, which is just, bliss.
His dream.
Yeah. And his total dream. And I'm not having I'm not having to regurgitate all my thoughts. Like, oh my God, and there's that. And oh my God, throughout the evening, I get to switch off. So that's quite a good one to do. So I'm ready then for the following morning when I get up.
Yeah, that is a good one, I have to say. And that's something that I want to switch to doing, because I would do my to-dos in the morning, but I think you're much better if you get up and you already know what's happening.
Yeah, because it sort of prevents that whole 2:00 in the morning, like, oh my God, I totally forgot I had that call, or, oh, I need to do this. It stops it. It prevents anything flickering up to you, because you're sitting and you're, focusing all your attention on what do I need to do tomorrow.
Yes.
I admire you both, because I don't really do a to-do list, and I never have, unless there's something that I kind of know if I need to do something, but I don't write it down. I'll look in my diary and be like, okay, so today we had this, and then we've got this, and that's kind of where I'm at. And then everything else, which is probably why I'm always like constantly working, everything else is just like, okay, well, I'll just do this quickly now. I'm much more seat of the pants.
Yeah, I think that for me, because I'm so forgetful, I would always be reminding myself in an hour's time, or don't forget, I'm seeing meals. Oh, and in 2 hours' time, I've got to do da-da-da. And I don't want to keep reminding myself. So,
well, I've set an alarm today, because for the first time so my daughter's been at the junior school for, this is her 4th year. And I never let them walk down. Like, this is really simple. You either pick them up from school, which is what 90% of parents do, or they can walk down to a street, but it's like down a main road. And I've always just been like, no. And they were like, can we walk down to Shepherd's Way? And this morning I said, yeah, sure. And they both were like, are you joking? I said, but I need to set an alarm because I will just on autopilot drive
Drive up.
straight into school.
Yeah.
So I've
And
set
you'd be like, where are my children?
go complaining at the school. You've lost my kids.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's funny, actually. I was talking to one of the mums this morning on the way home, and whether you're a mum or whether you're a wife and you don't have children, it's regardless. Women just tend to have this thing that we want to look after and make sure everything's running as it should be, and make sure everything's as smooth as it can be for a partner or for your children. And I think there comes a time when, I mean, we are definitely people that you just do too much for everyone. People do too much for everyone, and then we get into the pattern so much so that years down the line we're actually complaining about what we set ourselves up for.
You resent it.
We do everything so much, whether it's cleaning the house and cooking your dinner and ferrying around or whatever it is. We take over so much because we feel like we're doing such a cracking job, and we can pat ourselves on the back, but in actual fact we're disempowering, is that the right word, other people, and they're just going to get used to it. If somebody's jumping around going, I'm going to do that and I need to do it, if somebody's going to do that for you, they're going to sit back and go, crack on then.
Yeah. I think I said that to you guys before about, this was before the cleaning lady came in, but it's like, even back when it was just Brian and I, like I would take on things because I would be like, oh, he won't do it right. That's like, he's perfectly capable of doing a load of wash. Or what, you know what I mean? It's like he goes, oh no, I'll do it because he won't do it right anyway.
I let go of that. What I've learned about myself is I'm absolutely the opposite of a control freak. And I think that's because my dad was such a control freak. Like, you know, I almost just rebelled against it. So if anybody, even from when my babies were babies, they wanted to do something, crack on, just crack on. I would always not be like, you know, it didn't matter if they did it wrong, they were doing it.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Good for
but
you.
it doesn't, it has its pitfalls.
Well, I think where it changes, that's just it. Like, so my eldest is now, you know, she'll be 18 at the end of the year. And then my middle one is nearly 15. So as time changes, you forget that they actually are capable of doing stuff. And okay, I've taken on another business now. So in actual fact, I can't carry on doing everything. So maybe your partner has to get a bit more involved, or like, now I've taken on this, I'm not going to do that anymore. So you need to step up and cook dinner twice a week. Or, okay, girls, you know, you've got to this age now. And it's actually just reassessing that all the time. But as your life is changing and you're taking on more business, or opportunities are changing, or you haven't got enough time for your self-care or whatever, actually start dishing stuff out to other people and actually not feel guilty about it. Because when you have teenagers, it gets thrown back at you and like, well, you are a mum, that is your job. And you know, it is kind of taking that away and just thinking, no, get on with it. You don't like it, tough.
But like you said, Brian's a great cook, so it's just, isn't it nice to have someone just cook?
Oh, it is, yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing, like what you were just saying, about not being guilty, not feeling guilty about it. I think as women, we take on, I got to be the perfect mom and the perfect wife, and I got to keep a lovely house, and I got to, like, you know, my businesses and juggling all these things. And it's just like, you know, we expect more of ourselves than anybody ever expects of us, right?
Exactly. And I think some of it stems from other people's opinions. And you think, if somebody did walk into my house and have an opinion of like the filth or the mess or whatever, I don't think I really want to invite them back anyway. Like, what are they doing in my house if they're going to be judging me on that? Or they might judge me because I'm going to try and make everybody make their bed before they leave in the morning. Yeah. Is that making me a bad mum? You start getting to and it's so freeing. Like, you have this new sense of freedom when you don't care anymore.
Or when you say no. I think people fall into that people-pleasing trap, don't they? Where they're by nature wanting to please other people, but then sometimes there are some baddies who take advantage of that. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, that's all right, Mills will do it. I mean, I'm just using my name as an example. Yeah. But I remember the first time that I said no to someone who constantly asked me to pick up her kids from school. And it wasn't really a bother because, you know, I was not going out of my way particularly to drop them. But after a while, I was like, I'm not your taxi. Like, I'm kind of over it. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, there's more noise, there's more crumbs, there's more, you know. So that, like, I said no, and that was just like, oh, hallelujah. Yeah. I said no. and then it didn't ask again. It's like,
do you know what I used to say no to a lot? And it was really funny because I remember this one girlfriend of mine saying to me, "Oh my God, I can't believe that you've done that, but I just wish I had the balls to do it." I went through a period with my girlfriends. Now, this was obviously a number of years ago, so like probably 15 years ago. And there was either a wedding shower.
Oh yeah.
You do bridal showers here? Not really.
We do like hen parties.
Yeah.
Okay. So over in North America, they do both. So when you're going to get married, you go out and you get drunk with your friends and do stupid things. And then you also have an entire Saturday or a Sunday where everybody comes over and it's all very civilized and it's the mummies and everything. And you bring like a shower present for the bride, right?
What do you mean a shower present?
So it's like, you know, when you have a baby shower.
Yes. So you mean like being showered with gifts?
Yes. So
like a sponge.
It's yes, exactly. That probably sounded. People are like, "Wow, that is kinky."
Here you go. Here's your sponge.
No, it's exactly. So it's like a baby shower, but it's like pre-bridal gifty thing. So it'd be smaller gifts usually and whatever. But honest to God, during this period of my life, it seemed like every 5 minutes there was either one of these to go to. And I finally was like, nope. I was at that time, I owned my own salon and I was doing real estate.
Wow.
So Sunday was my only day off on the weekend if I had that off. And I was like, nope, I'm going to buy a gift for the person and I'm going to send it along and say, I hope you have a lovely day, but I cannot spend my entire Sunday. I mean, obviously, if it was a really good friend, I would. But I mean, you know, just an outside sort of acquaintancy friend, I'm like, nope, can't do it.
I do think, though, that we have got just a little bit kind of greedy and it's just getting worse. That whole kind of like, me. It's my wedding, so I'm gonna, instead of just having like an evening where you're getting drunk now, it's like, no, we're going for a week to Ibiza. It's like, are we?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, great. And then I got to buy the wedding outfit, and then I got to buy you a present. And
they say, oh, we're not going to let the bride pay. Okay, of course we're not. We're all paying. No, I mean, I'm kind of exaggerating and jesting, but there is an element of truth there that I think we've almost like lost the goal of what it was all about in the first and you know, it was I think traditionally it was a bit of like a send off, wasn't it? You know, you're no longer going to be a single person, we're sending you off. You know, they had a beer and that was it, and now it's turned into this whole massive thing. And
I think people are trying to outdo. Well, let's make mine really different, because all 5 of my friends have got married this year. I'm number 6. How can I do it differently? How can I make it even better? And you're trying to outdo that person. But going back to kind of what we were saying about saying no and things like that, when I was in my previous marriage, and it was a difficult time with the postnatal depression, and he was a police officer. He was working for the murder squad, so he was never at home. And you'd finally get a weekend and I'd get to have a bit of help with the kids and stuff like that. And if you were told, oh, we've got to go to so and so's for an evening, we've got a dinner party, I'd be like, do you know what, I just can't do it. I actually am on my knees, I cannot do it. And it very much I was being made to feel guilty, like, oh, I haven't seen anyone, I've been working all the time, but I'm not going unless you go. And you're guilted into things. And I think that's when it's quite hard, because you need to say no. You want to say no, but you feel like you're letting somebody down. You're disappointing people. But in actual fact, it was for my own well-being. But I was being made to feel that I was being selfish. And in actual fact, I hate that word, because when you're caring for yourself, there's nothing selfish about it. It's the wrong word. We need a new word.
Should we make one up?
Think of a new word. Think of a new word. Good plan.
What's selfish about the fact that you're on your knees, you're knackered, and you can give that person a call the next day, you can pop in for a cup of tea a different time when you're feeling on the ball, but actually there's nothing selfish about that. And I think very near, like, loved ones, very close to us, can actually, unfortunately, parents, kids, partners, can make us feel like that and have that guilt trip. And it's not fair.
My husband hates socializing. he's
I've
like,
never met him.
He's literally he's the opposite of me. So his idea of, like, a dream is to just not have to speak to like anyone else. Like, me, I'm fine. He can speak to me, the kids, but he just likes his own. He likes quiet. Like he's an introvert. Like he would go for a walk in the woods or go camping overnight in the woods. And so when we first, well, actually, he tricked me. When we first got together, he was like wild party boy, and then like that all changed. And but when we first sort of started living in a different, like back in England, and going to like all these various little things, I could tell he didn't like them. And, and then I'd be like, you know, what, did you not like it? And he's like, no, I hated it. And I was like, you hated it? What do you hate it? And now we've just got this really great understanding. I'll go out, he'll stay in. And if we do stuff together, it's just me and him going to do something.
Yes.
I don't bring him along to events, parties.
Yeah.
You know, there's just no point. And I respect that is just, he doesn't want to. So I would, just like I wouldn't want to go and sit in an opera. Some people would, I probably wouldn't. There's no point there's no point forcing someone to do something that they're not comfortable
it's
with.
very respectful that you have that from each other. Like, you're not like,
I am respectful.
oh, come on, come out with me.
I know.
I won't go if you don't go.
No. Yeah, that's probably why we're still married.
It's totally true. It's totally true. I think that's the biggest thing, is the honesty, right? Just being honest and going, you know what? I hate doing that stuff, and I'm not going to be happy if you drag me to it.
Yeah.
It's funny. And then there's a lot of, how can we stay like incognito here? There's a lot of other parents that I see that always go, where's George? And I'm like, at home. And they're like, oh, he's so lucky. Or like husbands. And I'm like, well, it's not luck. It's just, they're like, oh, we're always dragged out to these things. We hate it. They feel like they're able to tell me because I've obviously allowed my husband to stay at home.
Yeah.
And they're being like forced to come and do the stuff.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there's times when you have to, like, somebody's a close person's birthday or a wedding. Of course, I'm not going to let you go on your own. Let's have a nice day together.
Yes.
But, you know, day to day, you're out a lot, Mills. So I can imagine if your husband had to go to everything. Yeah. It would be.
We wouldn't be together.
You wouldn't be married.
We wouldn't be married. And I'd be spending a lot more on babysitters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd have to add nanny to the list of people.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
Well, listen, ladies, I'm conscious of the time because I know that you've got to go online here in about 10 minutes, and I really appreciate you fitting me in because I know the kids are going to be out of school soon for the summer holidays, and you're going to be super busy.
It's been a pleasure to chat to you.
It's always great to talk to you.
It's lovely to chat with you. So listen, I'll end that here. Thank you so much. I'm going to put your information into the description underneath this podcast. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you as far as doing any of your courses or finding out about your other businesses or anything like that,
thank you. That would
they certainly can do. So I hope you two have a lovely day, and I will chat with you soon.
You have a great day too. Take care.
Bye.